Hi everyone, myself Dr. Lakshmi Prasad, working as an associate professor in the Department of Data Science in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. In this video, I'm going to discuss about what should be the importance of R and what are the various data types that are available in R programming. So why are you going to use this R first? So it should be a free software. So it should be able to run our programs, and then it should also be runs on any kind of standard computing platform or any kind of operating system. And very frequent releases should be then, and then active development is going on in our programming, and it should be very attractive and vibrant user community. So it should be more than estimate 2 million users around the world is going to be used, and all help and all mailing list stack overflow. So these are the various concepts we are going to see now, and there should be about various chapters are going on in many major cities as well, and big name backing, so like Microsoft, Google, IBM, Oracle, etc. And it should be various functionality, should be of various modular packages as well, where you can able to download and install what you want to need. And there should be more than 10,000 packages are available in Sikran, where you can able to run the various multiple functionalities of our program. And the graphic capability is also very sophisticated, and then it should be also for interactive work and more powerful languages for developing the new tools as well. Okay, so these are the various purposes we are going to use our language. So R should be very free of software. We should be able to run our programs, and it should also be run in any kind of standard computing platform, or can able to use is in any operating system as well. And very frequent releases and active development is also going on in this environment. And this should be very active and vibrant user community also going on, and there should be many of the big name in backing like companies, Microsoft, Google, IBM, Oracle also are going to use this R programming as well. And so where the functionality is also going to be divided into more modular packages, so where it should be more than of 10,000 packages are to be available here. And very graphical capabilities also be very sophisticated, and it should be also useful in interactive work, and then more programming, a powerful programming language also be there for developing the new tools. So what are the other reasons that for using R here? So R enables the fast prototyping and then high level abstractions, so which can able to concentrate what you want to achieve rather than on mechanics and how we're going to mind to do that. And the latest machine learning also, our algorithms also be available, and your technical questions also be probability answered on Stack Overflow, and it should also be offer the present user experience. So these are some of the other reasons why this R programming are going to be used here, like which finally the R is going to be allows what you want, concentrate on your data, what not on your tools here. That is the main thing we have to be aware. Okay, so R enables the fast prototyping, and then high level abstractions are going to be there, and we're going able to concentrate on what you want to achieve rather than the mechanics how we're going to mind to do it. And it should latest machine learning algorithms also going available, and we're going able to run through R, and where you can able to make a pleasant user experience also as well. So mainly this R programming is able to concentrate on your data, not on your tools here. So what are the drawbacks what I identified with the R here? So mainly this R programming essentially based on over 40 years old technology, and the functionality should be based on the consumer demand and user contributions mainly. And the objectives what is there, everything should be stored in physical memory. Your data must going to be fit into contiguous RAM of your hardware, and throughout the other softwares like Skikit and Learn and Vika TMVA like this. So there are so many advances are going to be deal with some other programming languages like Spark and then Hadoop as well. And the packages FF and big memory, and then file back data objects also going to be used. And And big RAM is noting that should be a big data where you can able to get to be X1 instances on Amazon EC2, and Google and Microsoft also going to be offer some of the instances with the larger RAM, and where you can able to replace the local hardware with the cloud computing and need a massive computer resources as well. So some of the drawbacks will be that essential 40 years old technologies, that is one of the drawback, and the functionality should be based on only the consumer demand and the user contributions only. So other thing is that the objects what I'm going to consider, so everything should be stored in physical memory only, and they have been advancements to deal with and including interfaces to Spark and Hadoop, and the big RAM also going to be offered by many companies. So where you can able to replace the local hardware, the local cloud computing, and then you need massive computing resources. So what are the resources that are available for learning? Or so online we're going to have Coursera, edX, DataCamp, and elsewhere. And the machine learning, especially, we're going to see the book Introduction to Statistical Learning, and mainly these are the some of the sources of our programming, and where you can able to live what are the packages that are mainly needed for implementing. They should be installed as packages of Square, and then require Square and SquareLogix. So these are the some of the interactive courses that will also be going on in our programming. And the design of the system, so here the system is going to be divided into two conceptual parts. So the base R system is able to download from CRAN, and then everything else, and then all functionality what is there is should be divided into more number of packages. So normally this one predefined packages, or so many things are available in our program where you can able to simply run the program so that you can able to execute the codes. So the design of the system should be of two types, two parts. So where the basic OR system should be easily done from CRAN, and then where the functionality is again further divided into so many number of packages. So where you can able to get these packages and all. So secret dot or pro or hyphen project dot org. So this is this website where you can able to extract the packages, and you can also be extract the packages from GitHub and bioconductor like www.bioconductor.org, and neuroconductor is another website where you can able to download the software, and then artforge.net is another website where not seen by many people, but from this also can able to extract the packages that are needed for implementing the R, and some uh, dot tjet file. So this is another kind where you can able to extract the RSO packages. So these are the some of the sites that are available for implementing these packages, so that are needed for implementing. So one is main thing should be CRAN, rproject.org, and another thing should be bioconductor and then neuroconductor, and rest of the also other packages that are we can able to extract it. So I will going to be install this from CRAN. So for this we have to do. So we have to be installed our packages, and then we have to require this dev tools, and then library of the dev tools we have to import it. So we might also need to specify the repository. So for that, how can able to do that means so install dot packages. So dev tools is the name of the package where I can able to import it, and repository name I have to be mentioned here. So like this, we have to be install some of these packages that are needed from CRAN. That means these three will be the basic will have to be needed for running these packages. So install the packages is the main thing, and the once we install it, then you have to be acquired. That should be packages from the name what I suggested is dev tools. So that should be loading it, and then finally we have to be load the library of that dev tools, and then we can also need to specify a repository like install.packages of dev tools, so where the repository address also going to be specified here. Then how are going to be install the packages from GitHub? So for this also same thing, the steps should be same like install dot packages, so of the name what I suggested, and then install the dev tools first, and then loading the tools. How can able to load the tools like require of dev tools, and then install of GitHub. So then finally acquire that MLR also org also. So these are the some of the steps what we have to be known for entering the packages that are needed for our from various websites like GitHub and then CRAN like this. Then how we're going to get this help menu. So for this we have to be type command for knowing the help of or like plot. I want to know the plot details. Uh, so here I can able to know some CRAN and RTF from packages, so are going to be extracted from the CRAN website web page, and then what are the help menu can able to get it for implementing this R Studio like this. So some of the packages that are needed for do the coding with R should be like Twitter, and then Uber, and then Predictory, XKCD, Remoji, Magic, and Cater plots. So these are the some of the plots that are needed for implementing this. So Twitter or should be going to able to send the tweets, or going to be do that sentimental analysis, and Uber or means we can able to call on an Uber, and then or push bullet, so we're able to send the notification to a phone, and predictory is under packages, that means we are able to track for predictory publishers, and xkcd should be used for drawing the plots in xkcd style, and remoji is the plot using for emoji, and the magic is the under packages where you can able to perform this advanced image processing and cater plots like plots using cats. So these are the some of the packages that are needed for uh, where you can able to run using R programming. So mainly these packages are separate. So many packages available, and these are should be the mostly important packages. Like Twitter, where you can able to do the sentiment analysis, and Uber, where you can able to call an Uber, and then you push or push bullet, so where you can able to send the notification to the phone, and predictory, where you can able to track this predictory publishers, and XKCD, where you can able to draw the plots in XKCD style, and magic is the other packages where you can able to uh, implement the advanced image processing like this. So when it comes to this R object, so mainly in R there's so many data types are available. So normally here also the data type is going to be treated in the form of or objects only. So where the variables are going to be declared as some data types, and similarly the variables assigned with R objects, and the data type of R object become the data type of the variable itself. So here also we are not going to need to specify the data type. Suppose if I am going to take C, so some of the data types like int, char, float, and similarly and C++, Java like this, we are going to maintain some of the data types. So when it comes to the Python here, so no need of specifying this data types here, right? So in R also it should be somewhat similar to the Python, where we should not specify the data types here. So the variables are going to be directly assigned in the form of objects only. So the data type of R object become the data type of the variable itself. So here everything in just should be in our object. So what is this we're going to be considered? So everything should be in the form of our object only. So here the variables on assignment directly can be treated as an our object only. Here it is not going to be take a separate part of data type and all. So some of the data types, basic data types that can able to see in R should be scalar data types, vectors, matrices, factors, data frames, and lists. So these are the some of the basic data types where you can able to see in R programming. So scalar and then should be unique, and then vector should be the combination of two or not more than one, and matrices which should be in the form of two dimensionals, and factors in the other data type, data frames, and then lists. Let's see some brief overview on these data types. So the basic data types should be numeric, integers, logical, and characters. So numericals, so all the things should comes under the numeric ones, and integers, the logical operations, and then characters data. So these are the, some of the basic data types that this should be comes in our programming. And vectors is another data type, so which should be represented in the form of an array. So many of the people know that what should be an array like this. So array is nothing but a homogeneous uh, collection of homogeneous data. So homogeneous means we're able to store only if it is of the type int, then it should be I can able to store only the integer numbers. So if I'm going to specify the character array, I can able to store only the characters. So homogeneous means that everything should be a unique thing. I should not able to store one is integer and that is floating point value and another is character like this. So that should be we can able to call it as a homogeneous data. So array should be a collection of homogeneous data. So here also the same. So instead of array, I can able to call it as a vector here. Vector in R programming. So we can able to retrieve the vector. So normal operations what I can able to perform in arrays like storing the values into array and then adding up to arrays and retrieving the data from the array based on the indexing. So in similar fashion, I can able to retrieve the data from vector also. So the simplest way to build a vector in R should be use the C command. C is the command, so we're able to create a vector. Suppose if I'm going to see the example like if I'm going to create a numerical vector, so this is the vector name, and then how can I able to write it? C C of 1 2 3 4. So this should be a vector of array 1 2 3 4. So similarly, if I'm going to create a character vector, so character vector is the variable, and so C is this command here. So we're can able to create a vector of character array. So where I can able to specify in double quotations. If I'm going to specify one also in double quotation, then it should also be treated as a character only. Okay. So these are the way examples of how I'm going to create the vector here. So vector is nothing but a one-dimensional array. So we're able to create a vector with the basic data type what we learned before, same thing. And then the simplest way of creating the vector in R is by making use of C command. C is the command where I'm able to create the vector. So how I create an integer array and character array in single fashion. So here I can able to make use of this C command to make the creating of vector and then character vector. And next data type, what I'm going to see here is that matrix. So matrix is a two-dimensional array which is going to have a number of rows and number of columns. In other words, so the matrix should be the combination of two or more vectors with the same data type. So in semantic, if I'm going to show like how the matrix is going to create a like so matrix. So data I can able to specify a number of rows and number of columns and by row it should be true or false. I can able to specify here. So the matrix is a two-dimensional array. So normally, which is going to be shown in the form of rows and then columns. So this should be matrix representation. So another word I can able to call it as a matrix in R should be it should be the combination of two or more vectors. That is C of 10, 20, and then C of 30 and 40. That means I can able to call this as a collection of or combination of two or more vectors would also be called as a matrix here. So normal general definition is that matrix should be the presentation of data in the form of rows and columns, right? So when it comes to a matrix representation or programming, so everything should be in the form of a vector only, right? So I can able to call it as a vector of 10, 20 and then vector of 30 and 40. Like this I can able to represent the two vectors. So what should be the semantic for representing this matrix here? So matrix is the keyword, and then where this data, so data I can able to specify, and the number of rows how many, and number of columns how many, and the by row I can able to make it as false or true. This should be the syntax for representing the matrix. And next one is factor. So factor is another data type in R. So is a variable, also a variable in R, which is able to take a limited number of different values, such that so where the variables are often referred to as a categorical variables. So in other words, I can able to say that R stores the categorical variables into a factor. So semantic representation is that factor means so x is equal to factor of, and then labels you can able to specify, and labels is equal to level. So I'm going to specify a label to that vector, and whether I can able to arrange these values in the vector in the form of ordered and unordered way. I can able to specify. If I'm going to specify this an ordered way, then I can able to make use of this function like is dot order of x. So vector is a variable where you can able to have a limited number of different values here, such as such variables often referred to as categorical variable. That means where you can able to store the different categorical vectors in a factor here. So factor you can able to store the different categorical values, and then the representation for representing a character factor should be x is equal to character of, and then I can able to specify how many levels, and then I can also specify the variable levels, and then ordered and ordered, whether unordered I can able to specify. And next one is the data frame. So data frame is nothing but a list of vectors, so which are all of equal length here. So data frame means that it should be a collection of vectors here. That means the vector should be all of unique size. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So then I can able to call, not should be called as a data frame. So the data frame is nothing but a list of vectors which are all of equal length. And then the matrix contains only one type of data. So while a data frame accepts a different data types like numeric, character, and factor. So the semantic representation of the data frame is that so data dot frame, and I can able to specify data frame number and string as factors that should be either true or false. Okay, so I can able to, this is the syntax for representing a data frame. So data frame is also nothing but a collection of vectors where you can able to, but everything should be have equal length, then only a data frame should only be considered. So the matrix should contains only one type of data. So while the data frame contains a different types of data like numeric, character, and factor. So just now I said array. So array is nothing but a collection of homogeneous, whereas the structure is going to be called as heterogeneous, right? So this structure, what I am represented on, should be as a data frame. So that means data frame is nothing but a heterogeneous collection of data. Okay, so that means I can able to store integers, I can able to store characters, I can able to store floating points as well. So that's where it should be in the form of matrix. So the data frame able to accept of different data types. So either it may be a numeric, or it may be a character, or it may be a factor. C of 10 comma 20, that should be a factor, 20 comma 30. So all this combination should also becomes in data frame. And what should be the semantic for representing a data frame? So that means data dot frame, and then data frame number you can able to specify, and strings as factors I can able to mention, and when then we have to tell whether it should be a true or false. And next one is that under data type, what I'm going to see here is the lists. So list is nothing but which is going to be stored different kinds of objects in order expected. So it should also be contain matrices, vectors, data frames, and then lists also. So list is nothing but it should be a collection of objects. So we're able to use them when I'm going to need them. So what should be the syntax for creating the list? So list of element 1, element 2, and so on, element n. So where element 1 and element 2 should be called as the arguments here. And so where can able to store any kind of odd object and can able to pass as many of objects as specified. And then so each objects need to specify which should be separated with comma. So there should be a convention like actual arguments and then formal arguments. So what should be the difference between them? So actual arguments means so these are the variables or arguments where I can able to call it as in a function here, v1 and v2. So the function body what I'm considering, so this should be the formal arguments. So this should be the actual one. So difference of this v1 and v2 should be a1 and a2. So this should be called as the formal arguments. So a similar fashion, so list is also another kind of object where it can able to hold as a data should be in the form of matrices, or it may be in the form of vectors, or it may be in the form of lists. So list also is similar where you can able to store a collection of data and then you can able to use them. And semantic like a list of element 1 and element 2, and these are what we call as an arguments, so which is going to be store any kind of or object, and each object needs separated by the comma. So these are the some of the basic data types. So what I'm going to be discussed in our programming. So normally we are going to have variables of where in our programming every variable should be treated as an object only. That means where we can able to represent our object as a data variable, data type of that variable. So some of the data types in R should be scalars, vectors, matrices, factors, and then this. So scalar it should be unique value, and vector should be combination of values, and matrices should be where the data should be present in the form of rows and columns, and factors, data frames, and lists. And some of the basic data types what I'm going to see in our programming is that numeric, integer, logical, and then character. And vectors is nothing but a one-dimensional array, and we're able to create a vector of the basic data type what we have learned so far. And how this vector is going to be created here is by make use of this C command here. And matrix is the another kind of data variable. So where the data is going to be shown in the form of rows and columns. So but here it should be a combination of two or more vectors. And the syntax for creating this is the matrix, and data we have to specify them and followed by number of rows, number of columns, and then by row we have to mention. And factors the other variables, we are able to store the categorical variables, and the factor of x is equal to character of, we are able to create the categorical variables, and where the variables is going to be specified in ordered way, unordered way, how to mention it. And data frame is nothing but a list of vectors where we're going to have equal length, and the matrix contain one of the data types, so which is going to be accept the different data types like numeric, character, and factor. And then finally that should be the list. So list is nothing but it should be a collection of many kinds of objects which is going to be arranged in ordered one, and that means it should be also include vectors, matrices, and data frames and lists. So in simply, if I want to say that the list should be a collection of objects, we are able to use them. And what should be the syntax for creating the list is list itself is the command, where that should be followed by the element 1, element 2, and so on, element n. So these and all will what we called as in arguments here. We are able to store an OR object, and each and every object is going to be separated with comma. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.